Hello and welcome to Module 2, Lesson 2, using the number line to model the addition of integers. Now we are going to be working on adding some positive and negative numbers together. Hopefully you got your number line from class today. You don't need it for notes purposes right now, but we will as we are working on adding some numbers up when we don't have a number line already drawn out for us. So make sure you don't lose that. Okay. Like I said, for our purposes, all of our number lines today are in our binders, so we are just going to be drawing in there. Okay, we're going to start on page 6, so please open up your binder, grab your favorite writing utensil, and find page 6, which is the start of lesson 2. Okay, we're starting about halfway down that page where it says example 1, modeling addition on the number line. All right, so we are going to try and figure out how this all works. Okay, our directions say complete the steps to find the sum of -2 plus 3 by filling in the blanks. Model the equation using straight arrows called vectors, there's another key vocabulary word, on the number line below. Okay, so we're first going to fill out our blanks, A through E on page 6, and then we're going to actually draw this on the number line. All right, so when we start, remember from lesson 1, we always start at the number 0. So when we want to start drawing our vectors or our straight lines instead of bumps like we did before, we're going to place the tail of our arrow on that number 0, right? That's our starting point. So then, because our first number that we're using is -2, we're going to draw the arrow 2 units to the left of 0 because we talked about those negative numbers are to the left. And because we're drawing 2 spaces, right, that distance is absolute value, but 2 spaces to the left is that number -2. And then again, it's to the left because we're counting down with a negative number. Okay? Now, at the end of lesson 1, we talked about that counting on method where we take off from where we ended when we're adding. So when we talk about the number 3 this time when we're adding it, we're not going to start back at 0. We're going to start at that -2 because we want to count on from there. Okay. Our second number is the number 3. So we want it to be 3 units, and this time it's to the right because it's a positive number. Okay. When we draw it, and you're going to see this in a minute, when we draw it, it's going to be stopping at the number 1. All right. So at this point, you're going to turn your page to page 7 where you see your number line. I rewrote that equation, -2 plus 3, on my number line here so that I remember what I'm doing. Okay. And just like we talked about in those steps, we're going to draw our first arrow, 2 spaces to the left starting at 0. I'm using red for negative, and I stopped at the -2. And notice that I also put the number -2 on my arrow, or that vector, so that I remember what I'm doing. And then as we talked about in the steps above, we're then going to draw our second arrow, starting at that -2, going 3 spaces to the right, that absolute value. And again, I drew that number 3 above my arrow to signify the numbers in my equation or my expression. And then when I'm done, it does say to circle the number at which that second arrow ends, and that's going to help us know where we stop or what our sum is. So I'm going to circle that positive number 1. Okay. We're going to do the same thing. This expression looks similar, but it's slightly different. We still have the same numbers, 3 and -2, but this time their orders flip-flopped. Okay. So this time we're going to start with the number 3. Remember, we start at the 0. We're going to draw 3 spaces to the right. And again, I'm going to put the number on top of the vector. And then I want to add -2 to it. So when I count on from positive 3, I start with the positive 3, draw 2 spaces back to the left to signify the -2. And it stops at the positive 1. So I'm going to circle the positive 1. Like I said, they look super similar. Okay. Now your letter H right underneath that, I have to change my slide, you do not. But the question is, does order matter? And hopefully what you figured out from these two number lines that disappeared on me here, let me get them back again, is that the order does not matter because we have a sum of 1 for both of these two expressions, right? So the sums were the same, right? So order doesn't matter. -2 plus 3 and +3 plus a -2 still had that same sum, okay? We call that the commutative property of addition, and we'll get to that later this unit. And the order doesn't matter because we get the same answer.